All right, it is buy or sell time, and we'll stick with the final, starting with Forge FC. Forge had more gas in the tank because of their fall rotation of lineup leading into this finals.
I'm going to sell on that. I think maybe Forge kept a little bit more up their sleeve. They didn't necessarily show their hand. Cavalry was kind of playing the same lineup and finished the season very strongly as a result. So maybe there were fewer surprises for Forge than Forge was able to put on Cavalry, but I don't think it was necessarily a tiredness thing.
No, I'll sell. Cavalry rotated just as much. Camargo was out towards the end of the season. They were slow bringing him back. Malanga sat out a few matches as well because Cavalry didn't want to give away too much to Forge. So yeah. I think they rotated just about the same amount, so I got to sell on that as well.
All right, buy or sell. Tristan Borges played his last CPL game.
I'm going to buy. I think this guy should go to a higher level somewhere. You know, obviously I'd like to see him stay at Forge and stay in the CPL for another year because I love watching him, but I think we can't be scared of the idea of our best players going to other leagues, progressing their careers, becoming more of a factor in the national team. I think it sends a great message for the other players who are maybe thinking of coming back to the CPL or thinking of signing their first professional deals in the CPL, if we can say, look at where Tristan Borges has gone.
I'm going to sell. I know Forge were attempting to re-sign him during the fall portion of the season. I'm not sure if that got done just yet. Bobby Smirniotis was asked about it after winning the finals. He kind of didn't go either way on it. But what I would say is I think Tristan Borges needs to come back, show that he can do that again, because I think his value will then just skyrocket even more. I think he'll be able to demand more if he does wins the Golden Boot again.
Does he run the risk?
Runs the risk of what? He's like 20 years old. What, 21 years old? What's he running the risk of?
Getting hurt. Anything left to prove here?
Yeah.
Sure. Score 15 next year.
All right, so buy or sell then. Davish Wanier's goal was the best moment of the CPL season.
Yeah, I'm going to buy. I thought it was. I thought just the celebrations afterwards, we were right behind the goal at that end of the field. Just a massive pile-on of Forge players and staff. That was the moment the championship was won, or at least sealed, and I thought it was a pretty special moment.
I'm going to sell because this is the journalist in me. I much preferred the red card sending off to Tristan Borges in the first leg because it created the most buzz across Canada. More people were talking about the league than ever before because of that one moment. That's the moment of the season, that red card.
All right, let's move on then to the Cavs. And Cavs draft pick Easton Ongaro could have changed the finals. Buy or sell, Oliver?
Ooh, controversial one. I would have liked to have had Easton Ongaro, 6'6" of him or whatever he is in the penalty area late in that game. Sure, I'll buy.
I'm selling. Edgar and Crutzen were winning everything. Nobody else got close.
Easton Ongaro is different though.
Yeah,
that's the Forge defense. That's the Forge defense there that he just scored on.
Keeps growing.
I'm selling. Edgar and Crutzen were perfect on the day.
Yeah, he's a special season for Easton Ongaro. A great delight to watch him really grow in this league. All right, moving on then. Buy or sell. Tristan Borges should sweep end-of-year awards.
Yeah, I think so. Buy. I think he's the player of the year, so I think he has to be the young player of the year as well. And he's obviously the Golden Boot winner, so he's going to get a few trophies to take home.
Yeah, you have to buy. I can't sell on this one for you. As much as I'd like to try and find something to sell, and you got to buy. Just because Ollie said, if you're the MVP, you also have to be the young player, and he's the Golden Boot winner.
So he's definitely the MVP, you figure?
It has to be.
It's a nice picture with all the hardware, too.
Yeah. I mean, throughout the season, I was considering Becker just because I think if you take Borges out of that team, I think they still find the goals throughout the season, and Becker was so consistent. But in the end of the day, I'm going with Borges.
All right, buy or sell, Forge to qualify for 2021 Champions League.
I think they can win another round. I think they'll be stronger next year. I don't see, obviously, Borges is a big question mark, but otherwise I think they can keep the core together. Olympia was obviously tough this year, but I think they can win another round. And
remind me of the score in the second leg of the Olympia.
Olympia's a tough draw.
Remind me of the score.
I think it was 5.
I think Forge can get better, though?
No, you got to say. Look, Forge did great in that tournament. I mean, to get past the first round was fantastic. Oh, that's true. They don't need to win. You're right. They just need to finish top 6. Yeah. Maybe. It depends on the draw.
All right, Cavs 8-0 win over Valor will never be beaten. That's a record that will stand forever. Buy or sell?
Sell. It'll be beaten. It'll be beaten eventually.
You think somebody is going to open up a 9-goal gap?
We just saw it in the Premier League like 2 weeks
That's
ago,
right.
and that's probably got a bit more parity between those two teams than Cavalry and Valor. It may take a decade or 15 years, but I think it will be beaten eventually.
Yeah, I'm more than willing to buy this. This is not going to be. This is not going to be beaten. And that was incredible. And I think the teams in the CPL will end up being a lot closer in terms of parity moving forward.
All right, York 9 now has the best shot at crashing 2020 CPL finals.
It's a tough one. I'm going to sell because I am going to take FC Edmonton. I think they have a lot to do at the top end of the pitch.
What did Jeff Paulus say to you during the second leg on the panel?
No, the reason I'm taking them is they do have a lot to do at the top end of the pitch, but I think Jeff will be aggressive in trying to address that. What I like about Edmonton is James, Didic, Temguia, Zebi, Asua. I think that's a really good base to build from, and if they can find some talent up front, they'll be a good team.
And they might play Soria at the back next year. They might move him from his midfield position. He's played at left back before. I'm going to buy just because I keep on in my mind having flashbacks to York 9 playing so well against the Montreal Impact and moving the ball so well. I think their roster is going to stay intact. They did finish third overall throughout both seasons.
Yep.
It's just about consistency. And as Jimmy told us on the panel before leg one, if we know how to find consistency, give them a call. I don't know how to find consistency, but they were for sure the third best team in the league at times last year.
I've picked them too many times. I'm not getting burnt again.
Yeah, all right, let's move out west now. Terry Campbell of the early 2020 Golden Boot favorite. Buy or sell?
I'm going to buy because I think Borges is going to get a few offers, and so Campbell becomes the favourite for me. Particularly when you look at the fact that I think he only had 1 or 2 goals in the spring season, absolutely on fire in the full season, and I think he could get 15 next year.
I'm going to sell because I think Borges will be back for another season, and I also just think that the Golden Boot race, 10, 11 goals. I just think somebody's going to come into the league next year and kind of smash that, kind of blow that away in terms of a single season record.
Yeah, Campbell really got on fire. We'll see if he can duplicate his performance next year. Another good young player in this league. Moving on to Halifax now. Halifax's roster tear down is the right move for the club. Buy or sell?
I'm buying. I like it. I think, look, they had a difficult situation last winter in terms of building their squad and the location they were in and the lack of kind of local players and things like that. But I like the fact that they've looked at this crowd they've got, the fantastic stadium they've got, and they've said, we're not just happy to be the best off-field team in the CPL. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to put a team on the field that the fans deserve.
They're not going to like this out there, but despite finishing last overall, I actually thought that they overachieved. And I think that's because of Stephen Hart. So I think you have no choice but to get rid of quite a few players there, get some fresh faces in, and see if you can have a go this season. Yeah,
one thing you mentioned as well throughout the year is that this is an alluring team to play for. So they could bring in some decent talent.
They had like 6-7 draws in a row in the fall season. I mean, that's you're doing something right, and I think that's.
All right, for FC Edmonton, Randy Adwini-Bonsu, the CPL's biggest disappointment. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I think he's got to be. Yeah. I'll buy. I looked at Adwini-Bonsu on the same level that I looked at Nick Ledgerwood, right? A former national team player, should have been a star in the league and a core piece for Edmonton. And the fact that he wasn't, and a couple of other veterans weren't in Edmonton, was difficult for them to come back from.
Yeah, you got to buy. He not only was a disappointment, could get on the field, maybe some fitness issues, but also I believe he was a fairly expensive piece for the roster out there at FC Edmonton, which really hurt them this season. He was a disappointment. Everybody thought he'd come in and produce right away.
All right, the final buy or sell of the season. Emery Welshman should get a CPL championship ring.
Absolutely buying on this one. Emery Welshman played 12 games. David Edgar played 11. Emery Welshman should have a ring.
Yeah, I mean, we'll spread the wealth around. Yeah. My argument was going to be that they win the championship without Welshman and with Edgar, but since Ollie did the work and did the stats, I can't make a proper argument now. So I'll buy, even though I have sell written right here. I'm going to buy it now.
Yeah, he's one of the best players in this league when he was playing. All right, we'll take one more break. When we come back, we'll review the first season for all 7 teams in the league and look at 2020 as well.